I haven't seen you in a while, Nick. So the first wave of Canada's baby boomers turned 65 next year, 2012, of course. But are they technically and financially ready for retirement? So Nick Bontis is here to break it all down for us. Of course, award-winning professor with the DeGroote School of Business. I am a fan of this segment, so I'm glad that I get to be on it today. So according to a new poll, and that poll comes from the 21st annual RBC RRSP poll, it was released this week. 23% of boomers are worried that they won't have enough savings in retirement. Is that a real concern?
Real concern for me, because I'm actually shocked. I thought the number was actually going to be higher, to be completely honest with you. The thing that the report also says is that only 40% of them have actually written down a financial plan. So if you flip that on the opposite, that means 60% of these potential retirees have not written down a plan, don't know what they're going to be doing with retirement. They might be playing golf, but how are they going to pay for it? That's the real question. So a couple things that concern me. Number one, when they first started doing that financial plan back 20, 30 years ago, the actual life expectancy was shorter. So they're actually living longer than the original plan may have actually said. Interest rates are so low now that if a lot of them are in interest-bearing vehicles, they're not going to get much return on their investment. And the other problem, of course, is, you know, the government's not doing a good job with Canada pension plans. So if they're hoping that the government's going to help take care of retirement, they're going to be in for a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're just learning this week that Finance Minister Jim Flaherty is rejecting calls to expand the Canada pension plan to help the semi-employed or small business companies. So what are the minister's concerns about expanding this plan? Why reject it?
Well, the reason why they have to reject it is because they can't afford it.
Gotcha.
See, the problem is they made a mistake. You know, God forbid government making a mistake. But you see, when they made those calculations going back 20, 30 years ago about how much money we would need for the government pension plan, we didn't anticipate the interest rates as they were. We didn't anticipate the longevity of people's lives. So right now, they just can simply not afford to expand the CPP. So you know what they're doing? They're downloading it to the individual. So guess what? You and me are responsible for our own retirement.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Flaherty's now calling for a new private sector initiative, and he's calling for pooled registered pension plans or PRPPs. Okay, I got it there. How exactly would that work?
So the PRPP is different than the CPP, which is different than the RRSP.
I tell you, can we keep up?
Yeah, so here's the crux of the thing. The CPP was managed money by the government. The PRP, the new one, is supposed to be managed by the private sector. So one fundamental assumption here is that the private sector can actually manage money better than the public sector. Being a business school professor, I would hopefully want to side with the private sector, but you know what? We've also had some market crashes in the last couple of 10 years, so I'm not so convinced that the private sector is going to do any better than the public sector, but we'll see how this thing plays out.
Well, yeah, and you know, you got to say it's always nice to have a bit of a top-up from
That's
the
right.
government.
Always.
I mean,
Always.
You can't argue that one, can you? You seem to have an answer for everything, but that I know you can't. I'll get you on that one. Okay, so what advice do you have for people who are retiring next year or in the next 10 to 15 years?
Okay, so the number one piece of advice is cash flow. I keep on harping on this budget. If you're living by yourself or you're living with a significant other, if you have kids, if you don't actually sit down at one point in time during these season greeting holidays and actually calculate how much money's coming in January, how much is coming out in January, how much is going to come in February, how much is going to come out in February. Very, very simple budget, because if you don't do that, you have no idea how much money's left over for retirement. And if you do have a little bit of money left over, you got to hire a professional. Don't do it by yourself. People make mistakes. There's professional money managers out there that can do it for you. In fact, here's a little tip. Go call 4 professional financial planners. Have them come to your house, sit down with your wife and your kids around the kitchen table, and have all 4 at different times pitch to you why they should take your business. And then you get the best deal out of the 4 of them.
Yeah, did you do something like that?
Absolutely, I did.
Of course you did, right? Okay, so we want to get to some other business news. BlackBerry maker RIM beat profit forecast by analysts in the third quarter. Were you surprised given the competition and with the iPhone? I mean, you are very pro BlackBerry.
I am very pro BlackBerry. I am not surprised. You see, I have here in front of you the torch. The torch has lit up my life, and that's what they did. They lit up the financial results. People said that the iPhone was going to kick down the torch. It didn't. The volume was even. I'm Canadian, rah, rah, go Waterloo. But the question is not what's happened in the past, what's going to happen in the next couple of months. And I got 2 things that are going to come down the pipe. Number one, the new playbook. That's the tablet that RIM is going to launch. That's going to go head-to-head with the iPad. We're going to see how that plays out. I'm not so convinced yet that RIM has the product that's going to actually kill the iPad, but we'll see another big war there. And the second thing is the new operating system that the Torch has. It's called Operating System 6. They're going to have to roll that out to all their other devices internationally to keep that revenue going. They've got a lot of growth, but they've got to keep the momentum going.
Okay, and I'm going to keep the momentum going.
Right.
We've got 1 minute left.
Yes.
What can you talk about Twitter, the end review? What is it that really caught your interest on Twitter this year?
So what Twitter did was they analyzed the words that were used the most in the Twitter sphere in the last year, 2010.
Was it Bontis on business?
It was not Bontis on business, unfortunately. But the number one was the Gulf oil spill, so we know that. Big environmental event. But, you know, they're starting to clean it up. People have friends in Florida, and they say the beaches are starting to get a little bit cleaner, which is great. Number two was FIFA, the World Cup. Viva la España. Well done with the victory. Number three, the movie Inception. That's
really?
an odd one. I saw that movie. Kind of funky, kind of weird. You're going to ask a lot of questions, but that one came number three. Number four, of course, is Haiti and the earthquake. We're still struggling now with other small diseases that are happening around in Haiti, so that one's not yet. And the last one, the fifth most used word, was the vuvuzela.
Oh, yes.
The buzzing bees at the FIFA World Cup.
I'm not surprised by that one. And you know what? That word actually caught all of us
by surprise.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Anyone who works as a news anchor, sports anchor, a broadcaster, you know, we all had it in the teleprompter. Vuvuzela. Yeah, so that we all knew what we were saying.
That's
the first
right.
time it came up, I think we all kind of went, and you know, you're waiting in your ear. Producer, please help me. Please help me. All right, thank you so much for joining us. That is Bontis on Business for the week. You can always check out Nick's website. It is bontis.com, nickbontis.com. Is that right?
Both work.
All right. Just Google Nick Bontis. It'll come up. That's our time for right now. We'll be right back after this quick break.